let me just say about what next. Because some of you may be wondering, you spend your whole morning, precious Saturday morning with us. So what is going to happen to all this conversation? Now this is the very first one that we're having as a citizen dialogue, and we will continue to have many more in the coming months. We will, as you notice, that there are scribes who have been busily taking down your points and so on. We will collate all these different points. We will take in all these different inputs and try and distill what are the key points, what are the key themes that emerge from this. Now personally, I find it useful because in many of the things that you mentioned, what I try to understand is what are some of the things that are driving our desires and hopes and our dreams and aspirations. I think, is there something deeper beneath what you are saying, and what the group is saying? Let me just I'll give a few examples. One is really, I sense a very strong sense of, that we want to be a more generous people, we want to be more caring, gracious, we want to share, we want to be more inclusive, and so on. I think that came out to me very strongly. There's a very strong emphasis on values, and the sense that, maybe as a society we have become a little too caught up with material success, and what does it mean to be a people together, right? The point about senior citizens all over, again, it shows a certain set of values about how we value people around us. And your example of the president scholar, I think it has important implications about how we raise our children, and how we see each other. Is it about what does success mean, and what is when you say someone is a president scholar, we take that as a sort of a role model, right? And what is our role model? Daisy made the point about some of the issues that are immediate, like housing, foreigners and so on. Will it be resolved in 10 years? So let me say that even as we talk about Singapore in 10, 20 years, there is the work that is going on in parallel about resolving some of the issues, whether it's about transport, housing, and so on and so forth, is, as we speak, taking place. New trains are being bought, new lines are being, the tunneling work is going on, and so on and so forth. So indeed, I do hope that in 10 years' time we have many more kilometers of MRT tracks, many more trains running, many more buses running, houses are being built even as we are here in this environment, new houses are coming up. So I hope that some of those issues which are going on in parallel will continue. This exercise is really about envisaging the kind of Singapore that we hope to see in the coming years. So I hope that at the end of this, or maybe not at the end, but after a suitable number of citizens dialogue, we will see many more key themes emerging, and out of these key themes we will distill them, and we will then do we will do more intensive discussion in each of these areas. Now I don't want to prejudge what those themes might be at this point, because I think it should be a free-flowing conversation at this stage. I know many people feel very uncomfortable that it's such an unstructured process, and where is this headed? I think again this is a very Singaporean trait. We like to be clear, we like to know where we are going and where we are headed to, and it's not a bad trait that and we want action. Are we just talking, or are we going to do something about it? Again, a good trait. But I would say that let us suspend our good trait for a few months. Let's sit back and think about what is it that we want to go together, and then of course we'll get our hands dirty to think about, okay, if we want to go in that direction, if we talk about we want to be a more gracious society, what does it mean about our value system? What does it mean about the way we raise our kids? What does it mean about the way we interact with other people? What does it mean about the kind of policies, social policies that we have, and so on? Then I think we'll probably end up with a more holistic solution. Then where we say, okay, if we want a more gracious society, let's do X. Let's have 3 action points, A, B, C, and let's get going. Because ultimately, it is about a consensus among us about, is that the kind of gracious society that we have in mind? Is that the kind of caring society that we have in mind? One thing which I will promise you is that we will certainly have an education track. I sometimes wonder whether the PM asked me to chair this because all problems originate with education.
Also all solutions.
And all solutions. Did I ask him? No, I thought like that. If he did have that in mind, I better don't plant that idea in him. Just, I have seldom gone to a dinner conversation or a cocktail where somebody did not complain about something and say, you see, Mr. Heng, that's because your schools are not doing a good job. The reason why I think that's important is really, if you think about our students, the P1 child who is entering P1 today, he'll be 6-7 years old. And in 20 years' time, they'll just have started work. And how they're going to be brought in 20 years' time, I think will be a very different world. If you look back 20 years, or even slightly longer, 20 odd years, we mustn't forget that the Berlin Wall fell only in 1989, where communism was sort of officially dead, and many more countries joined the European Union. In 2000, the European Union came together, celebrated having the euro, and I must share with you that in 2005, when I was still with our central bank, I had a meeting with our colleagues in Europe, and they said, actually, Asia is growing so fast, you should have Asian Monetary Union and have Euro, to the Asian equivalent of the Euro. And I said, no, thank you very much, I don't think we're ready, and we can't tell how the world will be like in 5 years, in 10 years. And I must say, it's quite astounding what has happened to the Euro even within 10 years. So it will be a very different world, and therefore we really have to think hard about what kind of world would that be. And even though I would say that we have a good education system, we are not perfect, but we really have to think about what that world is going to be and how do we prepare our kids well for that. And are there enduring traits which will serve them well for the future? And those are important discussions. I've been following discussion on the PSLE, about abolishing PSLE and so on. And I have to say that, again, a conversation like this is very important. Because when I read about parents wanting to abolish PSLE, the number one issue is stress. Okay, it's very stressful. Now, then the next question I ask is, why is it stressful? Is it the studying that's stressful, or is it the results that are stressful? And without fail, it is the results that, it's high stake. Now, why is it high stake? Because if you don't do well, you can't get into your secondary school of choice. Why is it important to get into secondary school of choice? Because if you don't get into secondary school of choice, you cannot get into the junior college of choice. And if you don't get into that, you cannot get into the university of choice. And therefore, you cannot get into the job that gives you, what you want. And therefore, you cannot be... And then, the question is, well, but people are different. And would we as parents accept that, if our kids want to be an artist, a photographer, or, or whatever, a chef, would we? If the answer is no, however I tweak PSLE, abolish it and so on, the same pressure would be there. If tomorrow the criteria for entry into so-called top school is ballet, I bet that you have ballet enrichment classes all over Singapore. Right? So I think part of it is really our definition of success. And your example of the President Scholar and so on, it's really an example of how we regard each other in society. If we regard each other in a particular way, then of course we will place certain expectations on our children and our children's children and so on. So those are important conversations. So we will do the part 2 in a few months' time. We will drill down into a bit more details on the various themes which I hope will emerge by then. And you are very much welcome to join us again in one of those sessions. We'll go into greater detail about each of this. Okay, so on that note, let me once again thank you very much for spending your precious morning with us, and I hope that you have found it as meaningful and engaging as I have. Thank you.